Started a relationship advice series, and at the introduction, I said that when you are about to make decisions about your relationships, that one of the most important things that you have to do is to hold back that desire to judge people based on their potential or based on their personality. And my recommendation was to go beyond that and look at their consciousness. Ask yourself a question: do they have a good conscience? And if they do have a good conscience, then that's a benchmark to begin. Now, I want to follow up with something that I think will be slightly controversial. It's not for everyone, and I understand that. You might find it to be a little bit shallow, you might find it to a little bit inappropriate or incorrect. That's okay, it's not for everyone. The reason I suggested that you start with someone who has a conscience is because I'll use an example of what happens in intimate relationships. And I'll speak here purely from a man's perspective. Now, all men are not the same. You have to understand that. So I don't want you to think that what I'm saying applies to every man. There are exceptions. But I'm aware that there are fewer exceptions than there are what we call the averages. So this will apply to most people. But don't really focus on what I'm going to share. I want you to just think about it. Just think about it and ask yourself, is there some truth in what he's saying? The reason you start by asking, do they have a good conscience, is because one of the most challenging parts of most relationships is honesty. And whether the person will be faithful. Infidelity is one of the most challenging things most people have to go through. Would they be faithful? Would they be honest? Would they go astray? Consciousness and the person having a good conscience is what keeps them from going astray. Now, I'm going to say something here that is going to be maybe profound, maybe unusual. And I'm going to speak from a man's perspective. So this is not from a lady's perspective. I don't know what it feels like to be a lady, so I'm never going to give relationships advice from a lady's perspective, but from a man's perspective. Every lady has to understand that it doesn't matter how attractive you are, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, it doesn't matter how attentive you are, it doesn't matter what personality traits you have. All of those qualities, though we want all of those qualities, it's not enough to keep a man from going astray. Now, I'm sorry if I'm the one bearing the bad news, but there is nothing that you can bring to the table that will stop him from going astray. The only thing that can control that tendency or that desire to go astray, and do I mean by going astray? Getting involved with someone else when he's with you, maybe doing something stupid. The only thing that can stop him is his conscience. Not whether he has a great personality. Actually, that's a disadvantage to you if he has a really nice personality, because it means he would attract a lot more people around him. It's just a natural phenomenon. Not whether he has potential. Potential attracts. People are drawn to gifts and talents and skills and potential. So that doesn't actually help you. What keeps him from going astray is his conscience. Does he have a conscience? If he has a conscience, then it means that he has what we call the ability to treat you the way he would want to be treated. He has this guidance system. I call it a referee within that tells him what you're about to do. Though it might feel right, it's not good. Now, the greatest commandment was always this: love your neighbor as you love yourself. Or do unto others as you would that they do unto you. And that's all you're asking for in most relationships. You want people to be honest and faithful and sincere and disciplined and committed. So, I'd like you to forget about working on yourself, because you're never going to be perfect enough to stop him from going astray. If he already has those tendencies, the only thing you can do is create an environment that builds the conscience within him. We all have desires. The question is, do we position ourselves in an environment where those desires are fed? And if those desires are negative, the possibility of going astray is very high. You build a conscience so that the conscience informs, instructs, and reminds him of the rules of engagement. Like a game, the referee controls the game by making sure everyone plays within the rules. Fair play. Conscience or consciousness is that part of him that enables him understand when he's playing outside the rules. And you want the conscience to be strong and fierce, so that as soon as he starts to flirt, to deviate, to go on a detour, not you, not your friends, but his conscience brings him back to where he should be. And consciousness allows him to be honest with you. There's nothing wrong with falling out of love, as long as you're honest. So, in conclusion, I would say this. To try to control him is almost a tall order. What you must do is let him be him. Set him free. But in whatever manner you can, help him build a conscience. Feed those conscious tendencies so that when the day comes, when the moment comes, his conscience is what guides him. And I know I'm referring to relationships from an intimate point of view, but it applies to everything in life. It's the same conscience that tells him when he's been rude to someone, when he's been maybe unfriendly, perhaps when he's not being loving, when he's not being sincere, when he's not being gentle. If you get the conscience right, everything falls into place.